Welcome to Carol and Gary's See America Tour.
Hello everyone. Carol and I did take a 30-minute drive west of Salt Lake City on Monday, July 8th to see the Great Salt Lake before leaving Salt Lake City Tuesday morning. At 75 miles long and 35 miles wide, the Great Salt Lake is the largest natural lake west of the Mississippi River. The Great Salt Lake is salty because it does not have an outlet. Tributary lakes are constantly bringing in small amounts of salt dissolved into their freshwater flow. Once in the Great Salt Lake, much of the water evaporates, leaving the salt behind. The Great Salt Lake is so salty that fish cannot survive in the lake. It is 3.5 to 8 times saltier than the world ocean. Only brine shrimp, a tiny species that measures approximately 4/10 of an inch long, can live in the lake. The lake's average depth is 16 feet, but because there are no outlets, the depth can vary by 2 to 3 feet within a year.
So on Monday we left Salt Lake headed southbound on Interstate 15, headed for Arches National Park in Moab, Utah. South of Provo we turned southeast onto State Highway 191. State Highway 191 is a very scenic 120-mile shortcut between southbound Interstate 15 and eastbound Interstate 70. In 1929, President Herbert Hoover created Arches National Monument. Over the years, other presidents made changes to the size of Arches National Monument, but in 1971, President Nixon redesignated Arches as a national park. The park is 76,000 acres of high desert located 5 miles south of the town of Moab, Utah. The park varies from 4,085 feet above sea level at the visitor center to 7,600 feet above sea level elsewhere in the park. The park receives an average of less than 10 inches of rain annually. There are literally hundreds of arches in Arches National Park, some much more accessible than others. I'm not going to get into the history of how the arches have been formed, but if you have 300 million years of free time, it's very interesting to read about. Let's get to the arches. The first arch that we came to was the North Windows Arch. It is located in a 2-square-mile area known as the Windows section. The north window is 90 feet wide and 48 feet high, and it is easily accessible by trail. So accessible, in fact, that it's hard to get a picture of the arch without other tourists in your picture. Next to the north window is the south window. These two are so close together that people often refer to them as a pair of glasses. The south window is 115 feet wide and 56 feet high. A short hike from the north and south windows is Turret Arch. Turret Arch is 35 feet wide and 65 feet high. Across the road in the same parking lot where the previous arches were located and down a short trail is Double Arch, a unique pair of arches that share a single base in one end and are about 90 degrees apart on the other end. The largest arch, which is in the foreground of this picture, is 144 feet wide and 112 feet high. The smaller arch, which is in the background of this picture, is 67 feet wide and 86 feet high. Double Arch is the tallest and second longest arch in the park. A short drive from the Windows section and we were at the Sand Dunes Arch. Sand Dune Arch is a small arch in a sandy slot canyon between two fins. Fine sand in the small canyon is pinkish red in color. After another short drive followed by a 2-mile round-trip hike, the next arch that we saw was the Landscape Arch. Landscape Arch is 290 feet wide and 77 feet high. On September 1st, 1991, a 73-foot slab of rock fell from the underside of the span. On June 5, 1995, a 47-foot slab of rock fell from the thinnest section of the arch, followed by another 30-foot rock on June 21, 1995. Due to these events, the Park Service closed the loop trail that once led underneath the arch. Because of the time of day that we were there, the sun was behind the arch, so I had to get off to the side to be able to take this video. All of these arches formed over time, and time is the enemy of many of these arches. Several arches have already collapsed since the park opened. There is no doubt that others, including this one, will someday collapse. We spent most of the day driving around. In addition to these arches, there was much more to see. Many of these sandstone structures are hundreds of feet tall. For obvious reasons, this is called balanced rock. These two guys have climbed to the top of this structure. Yes, climbing is permitted in the park as long as it's not a delicate structure such as an arch or balanced rock. On Thursday, July 11th, Carol and I drove 30 miles to nearby Canyonlands National Park. Canyonlands National Park is 527 square miles and is known for its dramatic desert landscape carved by the Colorado River. This is a view of Schaefer Canyon from the Schaefer Canyon Overlook. This is a view looking down into Schaefer Canyon, showing the switchbacks and part of the dangerous 18-mile road. The final scene in the movie Thelma and Louise, where they drive off the canyon wall, was actually shot on the rim of the Schaefer Canyon, not at the Grand Canyon as the audience was led to believe. Canyonlands National Park has their own arch. This one is called Mesa Arch. It is an easy half-mile hike from the parking lot. This arch doesn't look very impressive, but if you look at it from the side, you can see that much of it is almost hidden from view. Here is a picture of where a meteor landed on Earth, taken from the International Space Station. That spot is located in Canyonlands National Park, and here it is. A half-mile fairly strenuous walk up a hill from the parking lot takes you to where you can see this large mound of a bluish-gray substance. It looks like the consistency of ashes from a fireplace. The area around the parking lot where this hike originates is called Upheaval Dome because the rocks are in greater disarray than any other area in the park. It is suspected that the force of the meteor hitting the Earth caused this disarray.
On Saturday, July 13th, Carol, Jasper, and I drove the motorhome 2 hours southeast of Moab, Utah to Bluff, Utah. And then on Sunday, we left Jasper in the motorhome while we drove the remaining hour to see the Four Corners Monument. The Four Corners Monument marks the point where the states of Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah meet. It is the only point in the United States shared by 4 states, so the idea is to touch all 4 of the states simultaneously. I don't know what Carol's doing. Here's how it's done, Carol. And with that, this wraps up our 4-month tour of California, Washington, Idaho, Nevada, and Utah. Utah is the 26th state that Carol and I have visited together. We will be leaving Utah Monday morning, but plan to stop in southeastern Colorado to see the Royal Gorge Bridge before driving back to Nebraska for Carol's family reunion, and then some downtime while we fix a couple of problems with the motorhome and see more family before getting back on the road. If you like this video but have not yet subscribed, please do so to be notified of future videos, and as always, feel free to share with your friends. Thanks for watching.